Hey there, Jessica Procini here, the founder and creator of Escape from Emotional Eating. And I wanted to make this video today to talk to you about summertime sabotage. I found that for emotional eaters, there are two times of the year that are particularly difficult. And these are the times where emotional eating can really take over. And it can be a time where emotional eating is really at its most intense time. One of those being the holidays, the time around November, December, and the summer. The summer can be such a time of sabotage for emotional eaters. And I've been doing this work for so long now that I just see the pattern every single year. So I wanted to make this video to talk about 3 things that you can do to avoid summertime sabotage. But first, let's talk a little bit about why this happens. So summertime sabotage happens specifically for emotional eaters because of our coping strategies. So as emotional eaters, we have 4 coping strategies. And during the summer, it's either the energy, the time of year, the kids are off from school. It's almost like summer just feeds our coping strategies. So the first coping strategy that emotional eaters use is denial. And the way that this will show up in summertime sabotage is I'm on vacation. I'm on vacation, so I can eat whatever I want. I'm on vacation, so I can drink whatever I want. I'm on vacation, so I can do whatever I want and have absolutely no consequences. The other way that the denial coping strategy will show up in summertime sabotage is that summertime can be a really exciting time of the year. And for emotional eaters, it doesn't always have to be a negative emotion that we eat. We can eat when we feel really happy and really excited. And summertime is a time where we can feel really happy and really excited and eat because of that. So the second coping strategy that emotional eaters use, particularly in summertime sabotage, is the energy of resignation, meaning that I'm just going to go to this place or I'm going to go out to dinner and basically everyone's going to have dessert or everyone's going to, be sharing food, and I'm going to have a really hard time honoring my physical fullness. So you know what? It. I'm just going to join them. And the energy of resignation always has that it mentality. It's almost like it's not worth the fight, so you might as well just give in. The other coping strategy that emotional eaters will find themselves in summertime sabotage is control. Emotional eaters love control, and when we feel out of control, we'll try to control even more. And the way that this will show up is perhaps over the weekend, you'll have eaten a lot or eaten foods that you know you shouldn't have eaten or make you feel sick. And then Monday will roll around and you'll feel really heavy, bloated, guilty, shameful about what you did over the weekend. And then you'll go into controlling, which will look like trying to double up on workouts, working out even more intensely, being super restrictive around food during the week. But this only sets you up for an even bigger binge the next weekend or even that night. So even though you might be trying to control, it's actually working against you in the long run. And the fourth coping strategy that emotional eaters use and find themselves in when it comes to summertime sabotage is soothing. And for many people, I know myself, there's a lot of travel involved in summer, a lot of time spent with family. And I know for myself and for a lot of emotional eaters, family time can be very triggering. It can trigger a lot of our old wounds that are absolutely connected to our relationship with food. And it can trigger a lot of uncomfortable feelings. We can often feel like we can't share how we really feel, especially around our family. And when we are in those situations, food is usually always there and usually always the outlet that you'll use to soothe until you can go home and be in your own environment and control the situation. Soothing can also show up in summertime because of the heat. I know for myself as well, I'm very temperature sensitive. I only just really realized this in the past couple years. And when I get really hot or just hot in general, I get very uncomfortable in my body. And this is where things like ice cream and soothing with ice cream, because of the heat, because of the weather, because of the long days, the intensity, perhaps your kids are home from school as well and things are just really crazy at home. This is where using food as soothing can really, really feed summertime sabotage. So take a moment, and in those 4 scenarios, the denial, resignation, controlling, and soothing scenarios, which one of those sounds most like you? Which one of those sounds most like what you experienced during the summer? And perhaps it even shows up a little bit differently, but just take a moment and check in with yourself. Like, how does summertime sabotage and using food show up for you? Now, let's talk about how to change this. So the common denominator in all of these coping strategies and the common denominator in emotional eating is a default. We just get into these patterns and we find ourselves in similar situations and the brain will click and we'll just go into a default mode, like an autopilot. And we'll find ourselves eating things and overeating without even really realizing it. So here's how we're going to change that. The first thing that and I highly recommend that you write this down, is to be willing to be conscious. To be willing to stay conscious in your relationship with food and your relationship with yourself this summer. If you are not conscious and your eyes are not open and you're in that default mode of like, it's summer, who cares? I want to have some fun. It can be really, really difficult to change anything going on in your relationship with food. But if your eyes are open, you're conscious around what you're doing, you're recognizing it, that it's going on for you both internally in your mind and body and externally with what's going on in different scenarios, you will have so much more personal power in being able to change it. So one example of staying conscious, particularly around vacation and travel and things like that, was just a few months ago, my husband and I went to the Bahamas. We went back to the little island that we got married on to celebrate my birthday. And before that, it had been about 3 or 4 months at the time where I had been completely stepping away from alcohol. For those of you who are very close to me or who have been following me for a while, know that my relationship with alcohol has been a bit of a roller coaster. And I feel like I've reached this point where I could finally really step back from it without any attachment to it and really clear on why I was doing it. Now, I don't recommend this for everyone. This is a personal decision that I have made, but I'm just using this as an example for this story. So we were in the Bahamas. We were actually stopping by the liquor store because my husband wanted to pick up some beer and wine, and I was already very clear with myself that I was not going to drink on this trip because I had made the decision months before that I was no longer willing to have alcohol be a part of my life. And I remember sitting outside the liquor store and in my mind going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth about whether or not I was going to drink on this trip. And one part of my mind kept saying, oh, but you're on vacation and everyone's doing it. And it's not like you're an alcoholic. And having a drink is going to be so much fun. Like, come on, do it. Like, that was what one side of my brain was saying. And the other side was like, you made this decision. And it was reminding me of all of the reasons why. So there was this back and forth going on in my brain. And I have to say that because of the work that I've done in my relationship with food, I was extremely conscious of it. It was very uncomfortable as I was experiencing it at the time, but I was very conscious of it. And from that consciousness, I could understand that it wasn't really about the drink, but it was about the fact that this was the first, maybe ever, Caribbean vacation that I took that I would not be drinking. And there was a lot of grief and sadness that I had to process around that and what that meant for me and how that felt. And all of this to say that if I was not conscious, if I was not present to what was going on in my mind with my own thoughts, in my heart with my own feelings, and the decisions that I've made and my choices in my own life, I would have absolutely given in, had a drink, probably drank that whole vacation, and then came home and wondered, what the heck did I just do? So being willing to stay conscious will give you the power to give yourself what you really need. The second step to avoid summertime sabotage is to really get clear on what you want. Getting clear on what you want this summer and being really honest with yourself. Do you want to spend your weekends overeating, eating foods that make you sick, getting into these food hangovers, and then come Monday, you're trying to clean up the damage that was done over the weekend, only to repeat the same pattern every single week of the summer? Is that what you really want? And maybe that's been your default. Maybe that's been summers of the past. But just because that's been summers of the past doesn't mean it needs to be this summer. Doesn't mean that it needs to be this pattern that you choose to continue. Because you always have a choice to change. So for me, one of the things that I am always committed to is eating with integrity. Eating with integrity is something that I teach in all of my programs. It's a 4-part training in my foundational trainings, and it really untangles physical hunger from emotional hunger so that you can eat with integrity. So for me, it doesn't matter whether it's summer or I'm on vacation or I'm at work or what's going on, but I always, always, always eat with integrity. It wasn't always that way, but it is the way that it is now because that's where I feel the best. When I'm honoring my physical satiation and really making my own choices about how I want to feel and then using food to support me with that. I just have such a low tolerance these days for feeling like crap. And it was so liberating to finally realize that we don't have to feel like crap, that we can create what we want to fully support ourselves. And if you're traveling this summer and you are going to be around family and you do find that family situations are triggering for you, my high recommendation is that you spend some time before you go on that trip to really consciously lay out what you want to experience and to consciously have conversations with family members about some choices that you're going to be making or, what you really want to create with food during the summer. And then that brings us to the third step. So once you're conscious and you're clear on what you want to create, then it's about support and accountability. And again, I've been doing this work for so long that support and accountability is always the secret sauce for success. It just really is what takes awareness and puts it into action. And that's everything that I'm about in our Escape from Emotional Eating programs. So, whether it's with a coach, which I highly recommend, particularly if you do struggle with emotional eating, I do really highly recommend that you are working with an expert. Because for the emotional eater, the emotional eating mind is vigilant and it will bargain with you and it will be super sneaky and try to say, oh, just one, or like, oh, like, let's just have a little bit, and then before you know it, you're through like a whole box of cookies or a whole carton of ice cream, or you're eating ice cream every day. So support and accountability to really be the secret sauce to moving what you actually want this summer into action. So these are the 3 steps to support you in avoiding summertime sabotage. And there's so much more that goes into being fully free from emotional eating. Being fully free from emotional eating is not as simple as being like, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. Instead, being free from emotional eating is about healing the roots of what's going on. And if you're ready to heal the roots of your relationship with food, I want to invite you to an Escape from Emotional Eating discovery session so that we can take a deeper look at your challenges with emotional eating. We can really understand why this hasn't been healed yet and put next steps in place so that you really are free and at peace with food, your body, and your mind, particularly this summer. I highly recommend that you do not wait. We just don't know when the body is going to give out. We just don't know when, the body is going to say, you've treated me with disrespect for so long, I'm just not willing to hang around anymore. We just don't know. And that is a gamble I highly recommend that you do not take. Instead, go to escapefromemotionaleatingapplication.com, fill out your application, let's connect, let's put next steps in place, give you the support and accountability that you know that you need so that you can be free from emotional eating. I hope this video is helpful for you. I'm so looking forward to doing many, many more of these this summer and throughout the rest of the year. So if you like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in my next video. And I also see you when you send in your application at escapefromemotionaleatingapplication.com. So looking forward to connecting with you. Have a great summer, even though I'll be talking to you before the end of it. I'll see you next time. All right, bye.